What India already has that China doesn't?
मैं सिंपल आंसर बताता हूं. मेरे से ना जर्मन्स ने ये पूछा है एक बारी कि same question. Look, I think one way to answer that question would be to say that Chinese has all the German auto manufacturers, but Deutsche Bank is in Bombay. All your outsourcing and business processing hub and all your bank documents and data is in India. That is what we have that China doesn't trust.
Nice.
I gave this answer to the Germans that your cars are in China, but your data is within India. ये फर्क है दोनों में. I said, you decide what is the difference. ये answer. Now, is that sufficient? No. Can I feed myself on trust? No. So alongside trust, I have to build an economic proposition. And that is the India's challenge. That as we move to Viksit Bharat, how do we become the green capital of the world? How do we ensure that the newfound momentum in sand to silica, our solar manufacturing, becomes so compelling that the wave of green transitions in Africa and Latin America are powered by India and not by China? How can we ensure that the digitization and the technology transitions that are taking place in the next 7 billion of humankind are powered by India and not by China? I think that's the India question. That trust with tech and with green transitions is the India offering. That is the India story. When you say Viksit Bharat, it is a green Bharat, it is a tech Bharat, and it is a Bharat that has created price points that are relatable and relevant for Africa and Latin America and other parts of Asia. That is the India story.
What specifically 3 things we need to get right in order to become the developed or the goal to achieve by the time we're 100 years old?
By
2047.
Pehli revolution, the human revolution. Never before in the world have such a large number of young people wanted to spend so much money to acquire some degree, some knowledge, some skill, some competence. Everywhere else in the world, governments have to find ways of getting people to come to school and colleges. यहाँ पे तो social culturally लोग invest करते हैं. Households spend money in private tuitions and private schools and private education. Nowhere in the world is such a large part of household expenditure devoted to education like in India. We have a knowledge revolution, a very quiet knowledge revolution happening. We are not sensing it. Our problem is that buyer exists who wants to buy knowledge. Market product doesn't exist. That is going to make them. So get our education system right, get our product right, get our product side of the education chain right, and you can create 1 billion champions that are going to take you there. That's the first revolution.
Okay.
Pinpoint enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolute. Yeah.
Number 2, the energy revolution, right? Please understand what we have to do. 10 years ago, as you walk down to the suburbs of Delhi, or maybe 15 years ago, I'm grown quite old, so I have to now I have to go deep into my past. But look at 15 years ago, if you walked near Chhattarpur or the outskirts of Delhi or Bombay or any big city. I've lived in Bombay for 7 years, 8 years. Right? Any big city, you would see women carry firewood on their head. That would be their fuel for cooking as well as for heating and different purposes, right? Now, more recently, post the scheme to give cooking gas clean, the clean fuels and the clean stoves, etc. You see once in a month, women carry the cylinders that, they get 1 cylinder a month, I think, or more. I mean, I'm not sure about so please check that. Don't believe me. But you see them carrying. Even more recently, you see women carrying solar lamps and they become solar mamas and they are now running solar workshops and solar enterprises, right? We have seen this. My problem is not this progression. I love this progression from wood to gas to solar. My problem is it is still the woman carrying energy. I want the woman to be riding on energy, not being provider of energy. We have to break this unfair relationship between carbohydrate and hydrocarbon. If you go to the US, you see, men and women ride on SUVs and cars and, hydrocarbons are carrying carbohydrates. In India, carbohydrate is carrying hydrocarbon, the fuel. I think this relationship has to be changed. Women have to be freed. The NRLM, Rural Livelihood Mission, shows a very promising sign on women participating in the labor force in rural India. In fact, higher than urban India. And I think one of the reasons why it is happening is because we are freeing women from from the shackles of providers of energy and utility to the house. Earlier, they were supposed to go and collect water and the firewood and care for the home and everything else. I think we have to break this vicious cycle of energy and humans and free the humans to produce value. Imagine India firing on both its cylinders. Imagine we are being able to catalyze our economic leadership that half of our country has been denied because they were being, slotted into provisional roles in some sense. So I think that is the second one. The democratization of energy can actually allow a whole new cohort of business enterprises to emerge, led by women, shaped by women, driven by them, powered by them, created by them. So I think the energy revolution that empowers a women-led growth, like the Prime Minister's women-led development model. Can we do that? Can we actually make that work? Can that idea become a practice? And I think that's something that is my second thing. That the energy revolution, democratizing energy, get smart grid, solar and renewable energy, light up every village and the lives of every individual.
Okay.
I think that's the second one.
Yeah.
Energy revolution. And the third is digital revolution. And I think this, and I'm not really talking about YouTube consumption or the number of GBs we use, our data GBs. But I'm really talking about what does it mean for the next generation of opportunities. For example, can these digital IDs and digital activities allow us to produce greater participation in our financial markets? Yes, it is happening. Our assets under management are growing faster post-Digital India than they were before Digital India. It is because now a larger number of folks have become part of the financial ecosystem, from loans to even exotic mutual funds and insurances. Today, we are able to offer financial products to a much wider number of people than we could. Earlier, it was just the formal economy, right? The formal, which are barely 10%. Today, we can go to a much larger. But can we see this be ramped up? And can we onboard people to economic mainstream, from housing loans to many other activities that we took for granted, living in houses which had a PIN code, right? So can the IP address empower those without a PIN code? And I think that's the digital revolution I'm talking about. Can digital revolution do to the Indians like what it has done in terms of giving them a national ID?